Three Ohms and prayer. Sahana vavatu, sahanau bhunaktu, sahaviryam karavavahai, tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Samasta jana kalyane niratam karunamayam namami chinmayam devam sadgurum brahma vidvaram vasudeva sutam devam kamsa chanura mardanam devaki paramanandam krishnam vande jagadgurum Tvameva mata cha pita tvameva bandhuscha sakha tvameva vidya dravidam tvameva sarvam deva deva tvameva sarvam deva deva. I think we didn't turn it off, right? It should be on the mic. Just check in case. After all the talk is over, you don't want. I don't know if I removed my namam. It's on. It's on, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the objection was raised by the logicians, Tarkikas. So ityadi tarkajalaha, don't get caught up in this tarkas, because swanubhuti, experience, governs the information, because everybody has an experience that they don't know. Why they don't know? How do you experience that? Because everybody is suffering. Why do they suffer? Because they don't know that they are Brahman. So there is no need to suffer. That everybody is crying, and if you can look at their face, you can tell that they don't know that they are Brahman. So obviously experience reveals that the knowledge is not there. That means they are ignorant of their own true nature, and therefore, that's why asocyan anvasochatvam. You are crying where there is no reason to cry, starting from the Gitopadesha. So he is crying because he doesn't know that he is Brahman. So that is the basic problem. So experience.
That's this much.
Battery is on. Okay. So let's look at Sloka 29. Swanubhutava vishwase tarkasyapyanavastitehe katam va tarkikam manyah tattva nischayamapnuyat. So Swanubhuti, in one's own experience, aviswase, having no faith, tarkasya, of the logic, anavastitehe api, although it can be inconclusive. Tarka, logic, rests on experience itself. So this is the anumana pramana. So in the epistemological analysis now is presenting, in the logic rests on the pratyaksha pramana for validation. Without the pratyaksha pramana, logic cannot have a basis. So that's how the anumana pramana, it's called anumana pramana in the Vedanta. This anumana pramana has components. One is the hetu, another is sadhya, is a paksha. Paksha means the basis on which it's occurring, and it's called vyapti jnanam. Vyapti means a relation between the hetu and sadhya. The example is, the classical example is yatra yatra dhumaha tatra tatra agnihi. Because I am saying there is a paksha, there is a, I see a distant hill, the hill is a paksha, and I see smoke, and see smoke is a pratyaksha pramanam, and I infer that there is a fire, which I don't see. Fire, if I see, then it becomes pratyaksha pramanam. Pratyaksha means direct perception. Because I don't see the fire, I am only seeing the smoke, and I am seeing the hill, and I see the smoke on the distant hill, and I am concluding there is a fire on the distant hill. So how did you conclude like that? Because I have established in the past by my experience, swanubhuti, that what? There is a relation between the smoke and the fire. Just like in the kitchen, in old kitchen. In olden days, they used to have the firewood, and then there is always a smoke with the fire. So wherever there is a smoke, there is the fire. That called vyapti jnanam. Vyapti jnanam is concomitant relation between the cause and the effect. Cause is hetu, hetu is the smoke, and the effect is sadhya, that I am concluding. There has to be relation between the two. So I cannot relate something else, say there is something related to the smoke. So related to the smoke, I had to do conclusion. Therefore, what is the basis of the conclusion? There is a vyapti jnanam. Vyapti means there is a relationship that has been established in the past between the smoke and the fire. And that relation is based on pratyaksha pramana, direct perceptual knowledge. So perception or experience forms a basis for validation of logic. Follow? In this anumana pramana, there is laukika anumana and there is shastra anumana. It has to be clear also. I mean, he's going to tell, but longer we should have clear understanding. Laukika anumana is when I turn the TV on and the reporter is saying what's happening in Iraq, let's say. Now I'm watching it, I'm gaining the knowledge. So I'm sitting here, I'm not in Iraq, but I'm sitting here and watching the reporter telling me what's happening in Iraq because I have faith that this reporter is telling the truth. So this is called attavakyam, a trustworthy person, that there is what is happening in Iraq is what he is reporting, and from his report I am gaining a knowledge of what is happening there. And I can establish what he says is in fact true if I go to Iraq and see myself. That means the knowledge that I am gaining can be validated by perceptual knowledge, directly going there and experiencing. This is possible in the laukika anumana. Laukika means worldly relationships. Why? I can go there. So I can validate the experience or reporter is telling me the truth by pratyaksha pramana. That means validation is possible by direct perception. And therefore, this knowledge that I am gaining through aptavakyam is essentially based on pratyaksham. Therefore, it is only durbala pramanam. I think we talked about this in the second chapter also. Durbala means it's a weak pramana. It's not a strong pramanam. Strong pramanam is pratyaksham. Pratyaksham is also direct also and immediate. Immediate means when I see there is a chair, I can see. And as soon as I open my eye, and my eyes is enough light, and my mind is also here, not somewhere else, then as soon as I open my eyes, I can see. That's immediate. No, I don't have to think whether it is a chair or not, and all those things are, I don't have to deduce, the inference is not required because it's immediate. That's called pratyaksha pramana, is direct and immediate, called prabala pramanam, strong pramanam. So that's why, hey, have you seen it? Eyewitness account becomes a prabala pramana. means immediate. Whereas the logic, all the science depends upon logical analysis. From what I see, that means the data, I have to deduce some theory, and other fellow will have different theory based on the same data also. So which is correct, then you have to do a deductive, inductive logic, all that is required in the establishing inferential knowledge based on the pratyaksha. You have to validate it by pratyaksha only, by experimental data. That's called pratyaksha. So pratyaksha pramana is a prabala pramanam. Anumana pramana is durbala pramanam. But there are facts which cannot be directly perceived nor established by logic. Like, is there a heaven? Is there a hell? Is there a dharma? Is there travel to a different locus? So we don't have any pratyaksha pramana, or logically I cannot sit down and deduce it. Therefore, the shastra becomes a pramana for that. And the shastra anumana also valid. It says because of this logic within that shastra, I can have shastra anumana, but that is validated by shastra statements only, not by pratyaksha pramana. And validation of that shastra is only can be done by yourself gaining that knowledge. And now shastra can give me indirect knowledge, and also shastra can give me direct knowledge also. And that's why paroksha jnanam and aparoksha jnanam was talked about before, right? Paroksha jnanam is, this is a satyam jnanam anantam brahma. All that about Brahman description is all indirect knowledge of Brahman, is all pervading. I say Brahman is something. But when Mahavakyas, when you talk about, it is direct, because you are talking about you who is directly there. I don't have to sit somewhere and all. It is immediate, and therefore it is the aparoksham. And someone was asking me in the internet, why you call aparoksham? It is aparoksham, means it is negating some paroksham. It's not that. It is immediate. In the sense, it's not the indirect. Paroksham means indirect knowledge. I don't have to deduce it. But it's not apratyaksham. It's not that way. Apratyaksham means all other pramanas come under apratyaksha pramana. So it is aparoksha, and Shankara has written an aparoksha anubhuti also textbook. And this has to be clear in our understanding. What is Anumana Pramana? Why Vedanta is Prabala Pramana? Because it need not have to be validated by any, because it's talk about you only, which is self-validating. Right? Because you are there directly. And that's where it has to be. So Anubhuti becomes a means of knowledge in certain things, and here we are talking about your own Anubhuti. Therefore, you don't need a logic, has to fit in your experience. You cannot have independent logic without proper data. Experience is data. And that's what is to be understood, and that's what he is going to use to dismiss the logical objection. So Swanubhuti, so in the Swanubhuti, so in one's own experience, if you don't have the faith in your own experience, then all the logic and you can have all sorts of logic has no meaning. So anavastehi api. So it is inconclusive. Whatever you make logic is inconclusive. So logic can be built up by axiomatic statements. This is just for general knowledge. The mathematical logic can be built up by axiomatic statements. The two parallel lines do not meet. Okay, that's an axiomatic. Not that you go infinity, you go there and meet. You go there, then it's not infinity. So it is the basis in which you can build up Euclidean geometry. Okay, and one can build up any system using some axiomatic statement, and you can build a logic on basis of that. Okay, there is a Gödel's incompleteness theorem. I don't know if you go to Google's and ask for Gödel's theorem, he will tell you first theorem, second theorem, and all that. And there is another fellow inconclusion of the Gödel's theorem also there is. What it says is any axiomatic statement and any truth based on that itself is inconclusive, incomplete. So the axiomatic philosophy, that's what applies in fact the statements of some of the Ramanujas is axiomatic statements have to be inconclusive from the Gödel's theorem wise. But Ramanuja says it is conclusive because Vedanta says so. So one has to be careful. I know Ravi is going to ask this question. So it has to be understood in what reference it is. So katam va tarkikam manyaha. So how can that be possible? Is that inconclusive. So therefore tattva nischayam apnovat. You cannot make tattva nischayam, means what is the truth based on your tarka. Tarka itself depends upon experience. Therefore without taking proper experience you cannot make a theory out of it and then argue with me. So first get your theories properly. That's what he is telling the Tarkikas.
Can I ask a simple question, or do you want to do it?
We'll wait until. So here he is already asking. So he is continuing the logic of it. Bujyarohaya tarkasched. Bujyarohaya tarkasched. Apetsheta tadha sati. Apetsheta tadha sati. Swanubhutyanusarena. Janusarena tarkyatam ma kutarkyatam ma tutarkyatam. So buddhau aropaya. So for buddha in the buddhi, having clear understanding of this tarka apechataha. So tarka can help for buddhi. Chid, if that is so, tathasati, swanubhuti anusarena, then the tarka means logic has to follow first experience and use the experience basis of developing your tarka. Otherwise, without the vyakti jnanam, without the relation between the sadhya and the hetu, that means without the cause and effect relationship, which is based on again data, without establishing that, you cannot talk about logic as a means of knowledge. So anytime logic is used, you need drishtanta. Drishtanta means example is required. Because of this example, we establish a vyapti jnanam, means relationship between what I see and what I deduce, and therefore I am concluding something based on what I am seeing now. All that is based on experience related. So swanubhuti anusarena. So any logic that you want to develop has to be validated by direct perceptual experience, swanubhuti. So anubhuti, one's own experience. And tarkyatam, then only we call it correct logic. Otherwise, ma kutarkyatam. Otherwise it's just a logic for arguing's sake. People argue for arguing's sake without making any sense. So one has to be careful. So Shankara warns about kutarka. Kutarka means wrong logic, and therefore anybody wants to argue with you on philosophy, don't get into arguments, because you cannot establish the truth by arguments. That's a problem. That is basically. Why? Because Shastra alone is pramana for us. So if we use a Shastra Anumana for logic, then you have to argue, then you have to say, you should know. That's why Shankara and all that, they have Vadas and all that at that time, based on Shastra only, not just logic. But Shastra Anumanam, hey, this scripture says so, therefore it is so, and so on and so forth. But scripture says so under what context? Then that's how they go into all the Vadas. At that time, Vada was the famous Vada between Shankara and Mandana Mishra. Okay, let's go to Sloka. These all, he's looking at a little bit deviating he's bringing a logician and deviating because some of these objections were raised by that. So he wants to clear out certain things. That's what Vidyaranya does it, because he comes at this time where several objections were being raised against both by the Dvaitins as well as by the Visishtadvaitins. By Visishtadvaita, I remember is Vedanta Deshika has the Satadhushani. There is 100 abuses against Advaita Vedanta. So that's called by. And recently one Shastri has responded as Sata Bhushani. So what you call as Dushanam is actually Bhushanam. But actually, I had a SMS Shastri, I don't know how many people, SMS Shastri. SMS Chari. I'm sorry, Chari. Shastri. He stayed with me and he taught me the Ramanuja Bhashya. But he mentioned that the Shastra did not answer the item by item. He answered just again Advaita philosophy, what was taken. So he did not address the Satadushani of Vedanta Desika. But actually when I looked at the Satadushani, he answered the SMS Chari has a book by name Advaita Visishta Advaita. If you go to Google, you can find out. And there he presented the arguments in English of Satadushani. But everything is based on Navya Nyaya. So it's two Navya Nyaya is new logic. New logic that was developed in the 11th century by Gangeya. That was 11th century. So there must be old logic also. So anyway, very, very terse logic. Our Tarkikas, Nayayikas are very, very, very peculiarly, very clear in their arguments. I don't want to get into that arguments right now, but anyway. Swanubhuti Ravidyayam Avrute. Oh, we didn't chant this sloka. Let's do 31. Swanubhutiravidyayam avrutau cha pradarshita atah kutastha chaitanyam avirodhiti tarkyatam. So the question that was raised before by the logicians is that this is not opposite. The consciousness and avidya, the ignorance cannot be together. He says it can be together. Only ontologically they are different. Just like Brahman and ignorance can be there, because what was the sloka in the Atma Bodha? Shankara gives a beautiful example. So says, now it's clouds are there, right? So we say clouds are covering the sun, right? That's what statement. I can't see the sun. Why? Clouds are covering the sun. So therefore I don't see the sun. So how do you know the clouds are covering the sun? Because I don't see the sun and the clouds I see. So in what light I am seeing the clouds? In the sunlight only. No, therefore, in the sunlight, I am seeing the clouds, and because of the clouds, I don't see the sun. You follow now? So, sun is there, but illumining the clouds, and in the clouds, therefore, clouds are there, and clouds are covering the sun. Can the clouds cover the sun? Sun is so big and clouds are so small. But fellow underneath the clouds cannot see the sun, right? So therefore, if you put a finger very close to the eyes, the finger can cover the whole thing that you cannot see anything, right? If you come as close as possible. So therefore, finger can close the whole thing that vision itself, because it's too close to you. That's why remember that V is very close to the BMI. Because of that V, we cannot see the top on the Om is not visible because of its clouding. And therefore, the question is, how do I know that I have ignorance? It's only because of consciousness only I know that I am ignorant. That means I am conscious of the ignorance also. Therefore, consciousness that I am is not opposite to ignorance that I have. Okay? That's what his argument here is. So, avidyayam, with respect to ignorance, avrutehi, relating to the veiling, swanubhuti, one's own experience, pradarshitaha, is expressed as very evidence itself. Therefore, ataha, kutastha chaitanyam, avirodhi. It's not virodhi. It's not opposite to it. It's not opposed to ignorance. It even illumines the ignorance. And iti tarkyatam. Therefore, that has to be understood as The logic has to be based on the experience. What is the experience? I can know my own ignorance because I am illumining even ignorance also. How do I know? Because I am conscious of my ignorance. I am conscious of my ignorance because you say you are Brahman. He says, how come I don't know that I am Brahman? That means you are conscious of that you don't know that you are Brahman. So ignorance is there, consciousness is there. And that's why they are not opposite. That's why we are comfortably ignorant and be conscious. That's what is happening. And people live for years, life after life after life without knowing and without need to know also. They can keep going around. Only when they complain that how come I am suffering and all that, then you have to come to Vedanta class only. So therefore, the need for understanding comes only when there is a longing to know what I am, why am I suffering. That question comes only. Until then you keep on in the avidya, people are settled, and millions of people are there in the world. How many people are interested in Vedanta? Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschit yatati siddhaye. Thousands of people, Krishna himself, even that time also he told the number of people. Statistically, very few people are interested. So we advertise Pancadasi class, how many people are really interested? Yeah, they have. Why? They are busy. Why? Priorities are different. That's all it means, right? So when Vedanta first inspires my priority, I don't have enough time. I have to, once I retire, I am going to study this Vedanta. So what it means, these are other things are very important. Therefore, I had to put my time there, and I can now, when I am retired, I can concentrate on it. So once I realize that this is more important than that, then so-called priorities will change. Then I would like to have this compared to that also. So preference keeps shifting as I see the value of that. Right? That's the same. So here it says it is not opposite to the Kutastha and Chaitanyam na Virodhi iti tarkyatam. Therefore, you start applying logic now according to this, that they are not opposite. Now you use it. Because that's a Swanubhuti. Because you are a conscious entity and you are conscious of your ignorance also. So therefore that is direct experience. Now use the logic according to the experience only. Don't use logic independent of logic, your own logic. The logic itself based on the Pratyaksha Pramana. Okay, Sloka 32. Tached virodike neyam Tached virodike neyam Avrutiryanubhuyatam Vivekastu virodhyasyaha Vivekastu virodhyasyaha Tattvajnanini drusyatam Jnanini drusyatam. Then what is that really opposite to ignorance? Consciousness is not opposite to ignorance. So ignorance cannot be removed just by consciousness. Otherwise, everybody would have been realized, right? So this is the very important in the people who, particularly in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, and statements are there. When you go to a deep sleep state, everything is removed. You are free. And there is Advaita experience is there. So that's why, because there is no, you are very happy. Everybody is happy in the deep sleep state, right? Otherwise, that's why they want to go. So there is an Advaita experience is there, but there is no knowledge of Advaita way. But some people think that there is knowledge also. And that's where there is a lot of confusion, because they quote the scriptures improperly. There is a Ananda Menon or something. So there is a criticism, he claims that the experience is there, but you have to, in the deep sleep state. But that's not true. Nobody gets up from the deep sleep state with the knowledge. Say, where were you when you went to sleep? Where were you? Say, I don't know. That's the first statement. Right? What happened? I don't know. Were you there? I don't know, but I slept very well. Right? That means I was there to sleep very well. So I was there, but I have no knowledge of even I was there also. My existence also is not disturbed, because the mind that records has not, that itself is folded. Those who want to know, in my website, advaita.com, advaitaforum.com. There is a essay on who slept very well. That's based on Vijjaranya's 11th chapter actually. 11th chapter he talks about the Nidra. Then who is the sleeper and how do I gain the knowledge I slept very well? There is a knowledge that I slept very well. Who makes that statement? The mind itself is folded. Then who has that experience of I slept very well? And who is making the statement? If the mind is making the statement but mind was not there to make a statement, all that confusion is there. And there are three experiences. I slept very well. I was happy. Nobody complains about sleep. I was happy. Then I don't know. That means I have knowledge of, absence of, every other knowledge, particular knowledge. I may be professor in chemistry, but in deep sleep state, I have no knowledge there, right? So I have knowledge of the absence of my chemistry knowledge. I have the knowledge of the absence of all dualities, knower known dualities. That knowledge I have. That's why I say I don't know. That means I know that I don't know. This is knowledge, right? Viditam va, aviditam va. This is in the Kenopanishad. This is, I know these things. I know that I don't know these things. Both are knowledge only. Okay, knowledge of the ignorance of things also. So in deep sleep state, I have a knowledge of the absence of everything. No distinctions of anything. That's what in the Mandukya also it says, I have no desire for any object. That's how the defines the deep sleep state. So without going into detail, but that has to be understood in terms of what is the knowing principle. So what I don't know, who says that? So this has to be very clear. Who is realizing what?
It is a Sakshi, right?
No, wait a minute. Sakshi doesn't have to realize, because Sakshi is all pervading pure consciousness. So he doesn't have to realize. Then who realizes? Who realizes? The one who has confusion has to realize that I am confused. Now I have not, confusion is gone. So who has confusion? It is the Chidabhasa in the reflected consciousness, taking myself as I am this. That's called Upahita Chaitanyam. Upadhi Sahita Chaitanyam. So it is, let me go a little bit carefully. Pure consciousness need not realize. Not that it need not realize. It's all pure consciousness. It's always I am akhandam, I am, this is pure, all-pervading consciousness. Here is no confusion. The mind itself cannot realize. Mind is inert. By itself cannot realize. Then who is this? Swami Chinmayananda is called, there is a combination of pure consciousness and this is called unholy marriage. Unholy marriage of pure consciousness with the ignorant, with the mind, and there is a fictitious entity that is called Chidabhasa, entering as though reflected consciousness and say, I am Jiva. That is notion there. And that Jiva has a notion, that Jiva has to realize the consciousness because of which I am is not from the not from the mind, it is from the pure consciousness that I am. Okay? It is the Chidabhasa, it is a local entity. Therefore, when Tom realizes, Dick doesn't realize yet. Somebody asked a question that also. When Tom realizes, how come if it is a pure consciousness, then everybody should realize? No. When the Tom realizes, the Dick still has to realize and has to go through the same. Because the Ajnana is in the mind, and the mind has the notion that I am so and so because of the consciousness making the mind active, and the mind looking at this and say I am this, and therefore all your statements are at the mental level. You don't make a statement at the deep sleep state. If you make a statement, that means you have not slept. Because the mind along with it is the one who is making a statement. So realization is what? Realization is the one, that mind which is activated by the consciousness, and that is what is called Chidabhasa, and remaining in the mind, using that mind, recognizes that I am the consciousness that is there, is not from me, That's mind, but from the pure consciousness coming in. That is what realization is. You follow now? All that? Don't worry about it. When you realize, you will know. Essentially, it's called Upahita Chaitanya. While remaining in the mind, with the mind, using the mind, I had to claim that I am not the mind. The consciousness that I am is coming from the pure consciousness. It is by the Chidabhasa only. Okay? Therefore, mind has to be active. And therefore, the ignorance is avruti, he said. Means it is covered by notion that I do not know. That's also vritti. It can only be removed by opposite vritti. So there is a virodhi vritti has to remove this vritti. What is the virodhi vritti? Vedanta Shravanam. Follow now? So I need sotavyaha, mantavyaha, nididhyasatavya. Why I had to? Tavya means you have to do it. There is no shortcuts here. I have to listen to the Vedanta too. Vedanta gives you the knowledge through a process where I had to vichara. That's why he already said vicharana, by inquiry only. Inquiry requires a mind and intellect only. It is intellectual only. Only knowledge can be gained by the intellect, not it's beyond the intellect. The truth is beyond the intellect. But knowledge has to be gained. What happens? This vritti eliminates the other vritti so that both together gets removed. That's what is ajnana kalusham jivam jnana abhyasa. Jnana abhyasa. Abhyasa means by practice, by looking. Jnana abhyasa nirmalam. Then krutva jnanam swayam nasid. Knowledge and ignorance both together go away because they both are opposite each other. And jalam katakarena vato. He gives example of katakarena. Katakarena is the powder they used to do for purification of the water. When the water is dirty, water is colorless, pureless, clear, all that. But whatever dirty is superimposed on top of water, that can be removed by another superimposing something else. And that's what is called conditioning. So you are conditioning and all. If you know J. Krishnamurti's talks and all that. Says, hey, this is, you are again conditioning by this one. You have to uncondition yourself. How do you uncondition yourself? He says, you by conditioning only you are unconditioned. By properly conditioning, you other conditioning you remove, then together they get lost. So unconditioned is not like something else. So I was, I got exposed to J. Krishnamurti when I was in the college. My uncle was a Theosophical Society. He used to have all the books. So I don't know what to do. I was reading all those. And then I got thoroughly confused. Because he says, you have to uncondition the mind. Okay, I am ready to, now I give up all that. And now Visishta, Dvaita, everything is gone. I want to uncondition myself. How do I do it? Then he said, don't ask question, how do you do it? That's one of the teaching also. Because if you ask, then you are asking another conditioning and it will become conditioning again. So how do I do it? You have to observe your mind. I don't know if you know how many people are exposed to Krishnamurti. You have to observe the mind. Okay, I started observing. Before I know it, I went to sleep. Because it's not easy to observe because I had to detach myself to observe the mind. So when I detach myself, that means I need to get detached. How do I get detached? Don't ask question again. That's why karma yoga, but all yogas is only get detachment. That's what is. But here also it says, by detachment only, I can gain the knowledge. That's what unconditioning only. But how do I get conditioning? Because you conditioned by a process, therefore you uncondition also by a process. If my plate is dirty, you put some more dirt by the form of a soap and together you wash it out, leaving the plate clean. You don't want soap also. So that's exactly he is telling in this sloka here. Why I told? Because the sloka Vidyaranya himself says, Tat means that kutastha chaitanyam means that we are referring here kutastha chaitanyam. Virodhi chait is not, if it is virodhi chait, if it is opposite, if it is really opposite to the ignorance, then ayam vritti kena. How can it be possible to remove this knowledge at all? remove this ignorance. So here is called Abhyupedyavada. Abhyupedyavada means a rhetorical question. In case you think that this is opposite to that, then how can you possibly remove the ignorant? You will be eternally ignorant. You need something so that you can remove it. That means it's the conscious, you have to make a conscious effort to remove the ignorance. And if the ignorance are completely opposite to each other, then you need something else in order to do it. Otherwise you cannot. So you need, what is that? You need opposite to ignorance in order to remove the ignorance, and consciousness is not opposite to it. Therefore you need something else. So what is the something? Vivekastu virodhyasyaha tattva jnanina drusyatam. So what do I need is, I need a viveka. What is viveka? What is real and what is unreal, using this combination, because unfortunately these two are always together. I cannot separate it. I had to only intellectually separate it and to recognize that I am conscious entity in these two combinations, because this unholy marriage is there already. So in unholy marriage of consciousness with the matter, with the mind, this reflection is there. Using the reflection, I have to see the original. So how do I see it? Give example. I want to see my face. How do I see my face? I need a mirror. Say, why do you need a mirror? You want to see my face, not the mirror. No, I need a mirror, and looking at the mirror by proper means, and look through my pratibimbam, the reflected, and looking at the pratibimbam, recognize that my face is I am. Otherwise I cannot see. But in this case, it is the pure consciousness. I am, my original face is the one who won't know. In the other case, it is the problem is with the mirror already is there, with the pratibimba is there. Now this pratibimba mirror acting as though I am a jiva. Now he wants to know the quota. So it is a little difficult. So the reflected one is asking a question, where is my original? Because original doesn't ask that question. Original is all perpetuating. So it's a reflected one is asking, because it doesn't want to get confused that I am only reflected, I am this. Because getting confused, I am a conscious entity. Because everybody thinks I am conscious entity. If everybody thinks only I am body, there is no problem. Because everybody knows that I am not the body. And I am, and we saw people dying, and people are dying, they mar gaya, right? Gaya means he is gone. So he is different from what it is there. What is there? His body is there left behind. So Sachipoina door, all poina means he has gone somewhere. Gaya. That means there is something else other than that. Reflected consciousness. The medium reflected, medium itself has gone. Mind has gone and gone to different lokas and all that. That's what is the transmigration of the soul. And the body is not, but at the same time, I am taking the bodies, I am this, I am so on and so forth. So therefore, I had to use this combined unholy thing and look at the holy part, ignoring the unholy part. Because this combination is always there. And that what is the viveka, and that what is the meditation, and that's what is vijnana vichara, and that's what is Vedanta Shravanam also. All that are involved in this process. So, vivekastu virodhyasyaha tattva jnanini drusyatam. So, we are seeing the wise people who say, this is indeed true. Srunanta visve amrasya putraha ayodhamani divyani santi. So, a sage creeps out, hey, listen, Srunanta visve amritasya putraha. You are sons of immortality. That means immortality is your birthright. So, don't think I am mortal. So he says, Asatoma Sadgamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. That's why Brahadaranika, we took that also. Mrityorma, lead me from mortality to immortality. How can he lead? He says, Jatasya Dhruvo Mrityuhu, anything that's born has to die. That means, give me Vedantic knowledge that I am already immortal. That's what is the prayer is. Mrityorma Amritam Gayam. Lead me to immortality means lead me to the knowledge that I am immortal already. That's why Amritasya Putra, you are sons of immortality. So how do I? Vedaham etam Amritam Parastat. So, na anya vidyate enaya. Without the vidya, you cannot gain this knowledge. By knowledge alone, one can go. So, vivekaha astu virodhyasya. It is the viveka, the knowledge gained by through Vedanta vichara. That's how I develop the viveka, nitya, anitya vastu viveka. I can develop through Vedanta Shravanam, pointing out what is real and what is not real, which is going to do more. And that viveka is required for me to establish myself. I am that eternal reality, not the changing one, because I am conscious of the changing one. Therefore, I am different from what I am conscious of. So the body is changing. So when I was a child and when I was a youth and all that I claim, that means I am conscious of all the changing bodies. Body problems I am conscious of, therefore problems do not belong to me. That's why people want to take sleeping pills and all that, because problems do not belong to them. They can easily get out, because they can identification of the body lives when you go to deep sleep state. But if I can get through Vedanta, then I am conscious. Even while waking also, the body problems will not belong to me. So therefore, what is opposite? All that has to be clear in this. That's why these are all very logically being developed. So what is the knowledge? Knowledge is not for to know the truth. In terms of absolute truth is already there. But knowledge is to remove the notions, wrong notions in me. For that I need. When wrong notions are dropped out, the right knowledge will be shining all the time. When the clouds are removed by the wind, then the shining sun, the sun before is self-revealing. Then what do I have to do after that? Nothing to do, just be. So that's the knowledge is self-revealing, self-conscious entity. Okay, Sloka 33. अविद्यावृतकूटस्ते देहद्वयायुताचितिः सुप्तौ रूप्यवदध्यस्ता विक्षेपाध्यास एव हि. Now he is talking about adhyasa, and Shankara gives a whole adhyasa bhashya in the Brahma Sutra. So Brahma Sutra, before he starts, he gives you adhyasa bhashya, and one of the famous of the Shankara's contribution in terms of the Brahma Sutra. Now he is taking some of that aspect in analysis of this. Okay, so we are essentially looking at the adhyasa bhashya aspect of it, and Vidyaranya is slowly presenting it in his own way. And in this, in the Brahma Sutra, they talk about the Rajju Sarpa. Rajju Sarpa means the rope snake. Here he is taking Suktau Rupyam. So Rupyam is the silver. Suktau in the shell, the silver in the shell is the example here. So if this is clear, now we can go. Avidya kutaste. So the kutaste, in the kutastha, in the consciousness, that with ignorance covering that I don't know that I am kutastha, that ignorance is covering, veiling that avidya avruti. They are dehadvaya yatachitaha. So the chitaha, this consciousness here reflect, chitaha means it's chitabhasa here, the reflected consciousness is associated with dehadvayam, that means two bodies. So now we are going into more detailed analysis of what's happening at the jiva level. So first, pure consciousness is there as a kutastha. And now the reflection is there as a chitabhasa. The reflection, chitabhasa, comes in terms of two aspects. One is the subtle body and the gross body. Dehadvayam. So subtle body and the gross body is the B body. There you have in the BMI chart the external body that you are talking about. Anything gross, including brain, is a gross body. That which lives, and subtle body is subtle. You cannot, it's not directly. So gross body is Annamaya Kosha. So because it's born out of Annamaya, and the other ones is Pranamaya, is all that is somewhat subtle, and therefore all the physiological functions are all controlled by the mind only, and that is subtler. And when you leave, death is nothing but the mind along with the prana and all that, it packs itself and then leaves. That's what is discussed in the 15th chapter of Gita. So therefore that still, that is reflected in the subtle only. So as long as the subtle body is there, the gross body also is become active. So consciousness first reflects in the buddhi, from buddhi to the mind, emotional center, and from the emotional to the sense organs and pranamaya, all that levels are there. So the vijnanamaya kosha, anandamaya kosha, and the pranamaya kosha. And from that, because the physiological functions are occurring, the body also becomes as though conscious entity.
So first is buddhi.
Yes. Buddhya veva ashita svacheshu pratibimbavatu. Yes, in the buddhi. That is the subtlest. Through buddhi only I can realize. Okay? That's intellect. That's why viveka is in the buddhi.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All that is involved. And in the deep sleep state, when I told you the article, Who Slept Well, is analyzed what happens in the deep sleep state. Each kosha goes into the higher kosha until it's a Vijnanamaya kosha, which folds itself into Anandamaya kosha. Okay? All that is analyzed in the, Vijaranya discussed in the 11th chapter, by the way. So I wrote it, somebody asked the question, so I had to write it. So that's people who want to know. But here, he is talking about two bodies. What are the two bodies? Subtle body and the gross body. What about Karana Sharira? Is not included. Because Karana Sharira is not Karyam. Karanam is, that's why it's called Karanam. Karanam means it's only causal state, but not effect. Effect comes only when with the reflection, with the Chidabhasa. Okay? That's why Avyaktam. Karana is avyaktam, and that is what even in the totality it goes all the way, it never leaves you until all the vasanas are gone away. So ignorance will be there from the anadi. So even when you go to pralayam, so layam you are going, pralayam is when the total goes to sleep, also it will be in the avyakta, in the subtle state, and again you will project back, all that garbage will be still coming out. So it will be there after pralayam and pralayam. So it will never end until only way to end is getting out of this cycle. How? Recognize that I don't belong into cycle. That's how you get out of the cycle. So avidya vrata kutaste dehadvaya yuta chitihi. Chitihi means chidabhasaha dehadvaya yuta. So it is associated, the means it is associated with the subtle body and gross body. How? Shakti rupyavat, Shakti rupavat. Shakti rupyavat. Just as the silver associated with the shell. Shakti rupya. Rupya is here, rupam is, akaram is silver, the property that I am seeing. And shakto means in the shakti, in the shell, the silver in the shell. Just as the silver in the shell, what means like that? Adhyasta. Vitshepa adhyasaha. This is called Vitshepa adhyasa, superimposition as a projection. Now he is looking at a Avarana Shakti, Vitshepa Shakti is slowly introducing now. So there is a projection of the Vitshepa. So one is covering that I do not know, then there is something else, the Chidabhasa reflects through the bodies, and the Chidabhasa projects the whole thing in terms of from me also, from the point of reflected consciousness. Same thing happens at the global level. So I have a Jiva Srishti and a Isvara Srishti comes into picture by the reflection and reflection through projection, Vikshepa. So from Ishvara also goes to deep sleep state. That's called Yoga Nidra. So when Yoga Nidra is there, there is no distinction of any kind. So when he gets up, then whole projection again starts. Right? When I get up, whole projection. When I go to deep sleep state, it's only avidya is there. In this case, it will be Maya. For him, Maya. We don't call him avidya, out of respect. So, we don't want to say Lord is. So, it's avidya. For us, when we go to sleep, it is ignorance. Now, how does Jnani go to sleep? With avidya or with the So when a Jnani goes to sleep, the knowledge that I am Jnanam is in the buddhi. That buddhi goes to sleep, therefore he will be just like anybody else as avyakta rupam. He doesn't have ignorance, but he doesn't have the knowledge also is not manifested in the deep sleep state. When you wake him up, he will tell you. So if you go and ask questions when he is deep sleep, no answer will come. Because the Jnani is also. So Jnani sleeps as Jnani, Ajnani sleeps as Ajnani. Okay, that should be understood. Because these are all simple questions, but people ask also. By the way, in that Advaita forum.com, a lot of question answers are there. You can spend a whole lifetime reading that website. Someone complained and said, I tried to read it, but I thought I'm going to spend whole time here, so I stopped reading it. So anyway, avidyavata kotaste dehadvayata cha shaktau rupya vadadhyasa vikshepadhyasa evaha. He's going to explain more about it. This is called this adhyasa. Adhyasa means superimposition of something other than itself. So there are several aspects of adhyasa going to be talked about, and at the same time, just as when I am projecting a snake, when I see a rope, why I am projecting? Because I don't see rope. If I say rope, I don't say there is a snake there. Because I don't see a rope, I am projecting a snake. Why? Because I am seeing something. That is called a vastu jnanam. There's a vastu jnana means I am seeing something which is 5 feet long, and by stepped on it, it's even soft. Therefore, I have some knowledge of some attributes of the object I have. And I do not have complete attributive knowledge of the object, because then I know it is rope. Why? It is not completely bright. Therefore, the environment is not conducive enough. It's partially dark and so on, and it is lying on the alley. And in India, there are a lot of snakes around, and not in this country maybe. But so when I was walking and I stepped on it, and I thought this is a snake. Because I am not seeing, remember, I am not seeing complete attributes of the object. I am only seeing partial attributes of the object. Those partial attributes cannot distinguish rope and a snake. Those attributes belong to both rope and the snake, because it is 5 feet long. Snake is also 5 feet long, and the rope is also 5 feet long. And it is, when I stepped on it, it was soft, and it is lying on the alley. So ropes don't do alley. I call no snakes will go around in the alley. So all those attributes that I am gathering with the limited environment, with my senses, belong to both the rope and the snake. Therefore, they are not distinguishing one against the other. Therefore, it may be a rope, it may be a snake. But I am afraid of snakes. Therefore, out of security of my own, I think it is a snake. I don't say it's an elephant, because the attributes do not belong to elephant. It belongs to only rope or snake. You follow now? Just to give you some idea, there are two types of adhyasa. One is called sopadika adhyasa, one is nirupadika adhyasa. One is upadhi is there, another is upadhi is not there. Sa upadhi, and this nirupadhi. What's upadhi? There is a basis for it. If there is a upadhi, then it cannot dismiss even if your knowledge takes place. Okay? That is called Sopadika Adhyasa. For example, the best example is the mirage water. Mirage water is called Sopadik Adhyasa. I am projecting the water there because of the reflection of the sun and the glancing angle in the sand, but I am seeing there is a water there. That's called mirage water, right? But when I learn about the process, I know there is no water there. So even though knowledge has occurred, I can still see water there. Because that is the law of nature. That's called Upadika. So Upadika. So there are two types of adhyasa. This has to be very clear. Otherwise people will say, this is a Upadika. I didn't create that reflecting process and all that. All those laws I didn't create. It is a creation of the Ishvara. It's a dry sand, but I am seeing wet, which is opposite to completely what it is. But there are also Nirupadika Adhyasa, like a rope and a snake. Nirupadika Adhyasa means where I am projecting the snake because I don't know the rope. But once I know it is a rope, then I don't say snake anymore there. Follow? That means once I have the knowledge, there is no more Adhyasa. So these two are very important to distinguish what is Ishvara Srishti and what is Jiva Srishti. So knowledge will only eliminate Jiva Srishti but not Ishvara Srishti. Knowledge of the rope eliminate this rope, the snake that is created by my mind, not the Ishvara. Ishvara has nothing to do with the rope. Some other fellow may see snake only snake or rope as a rope. Only my mind has created, therefore it is a Jiva Srishti, that's called subjective objectification. If you want to, subjective objectification. Whereas the sunrise and sunset or the trees moving in the opposite, when you are traveling in the train, the trees are running in the opposite direction, all that adhyasa is not my creation. Therefore, even though I have the knowledge of it, because Ishvara has created it, I may still see that I know it is only not real. There is really no sunrise and sunset, and I understand the sun never rises and sets, but at the same time I can still enjoy sunrise and sunset, knowing very well there is no sunrise and sunset. You follow? Therefore, Jnani knows there is no creation, there is no, all is nothing but Brahman. I am that Brahman, yet he can still see a Sishya as a Sishya and the Vedanta as a Vedanta and continue the teaching. But only thing is, he does not have the Jiva Srishti. Oh, I am having a problem, I am this is mine, that all that are Jiva Srishti. Say, this is a watch, right? I didn't create it. It is Ishvara Srishti. Ishvara means anything other than me. But this is my watch. That becomes minus is Jiva Srishti. There is no mine in this. But ownership of this is mine, that is not mine, and therefore attachments and all that are comes into, all that is eliminated out. Okay? That has to be Jiva Srishti. So what eliminates, because the problems is not from the Ishvara Srishti. Ishvara Srishti doesn't give me a problem. Jiva Srishti is the one that gives a problem. That's what we discussed in the 4th chapter of this Pancadasi. Those who want to know, they can, it's available in the YouTube or even live stream. They can listen to that. Jiva Srishti and Ishvara Srishti has been discussed. So here Suktau Rupyavatu. So like a silver in this shell. What kind of example is this? There is no really silver there. But when I see it is a silver, it is looking like a rectangular shape, and it is a blue color that of the shell, but I don't see all that. I only see reflection of shining. And why I see that? Because this is the dominant attribute of the silver. So how do you know? It's shining like silver. All other things I don't pay attention to. I'm paying attention to mostly a dominant attribute and get carried away that it may be silver. Because from that perspective, I'm not seeing the other details. So when I pick it up, then I see it is a shell, because now I am getting the knowledge of the other attributes of the object, and there is no really silver, but it is silvery appearance. Now what do I see? I see silvery appearance still, but I know it's not silver. Follow now? It's very in between the case. It doesn't disappear because it's a property of the shell also to shine like silver. So you say, why you make it like, say, that's my nature, why are you worried about it? So shell also shines like a silver, but you have say all that glisters is not gold, right? All that shines is not silver also, has to be understood also. So from here on, he is going to talk about more about adhyasa. In every, just for the knowledge, because we just have one more minute, in everything these two are together. Okay, I'll just wrap it up, because we have to apply this as an exercise. So anything, when I say, what is this? This is a chair. What is this? This is a table. This is a mic. Right? In every statement, we say, this is a glass. Two things are there. This is, and something else added. So this is called samanya, and other one is called visesha. Okay? So in every knowledge that I am doing, these two are together. What is that? This is and visesha. Visesha means specific to that only. So everything when I see in the world, I will say this is so and so, including I am so and so also, which is also this one. So any this that I can point out has two things. One is samanya and one is visesha. Together is always there. I cannot stop this is and then stop. And any valid knowledge will have both real. This part is there and that is also real, and the part that I say chair, table also real. Two, samanya and visesha, both are coming together, and samanya is samanya present in every object. This is a chair, this is a table, this is also there in the table also. This is a tumbler. So in every knowledge, this is part is there, plus only the attributive part, rupa, is changing. Follow? And this is samanya, never changes in every object that exists, because this is existing. Non-existing, we cannot say this is. So only existing things we say this is, this is, this is. So whenever I look at the world, there are two aspects involved. One is this is and viseshana, the attributive. And this is part is the Brahman. And attributive part is only nama rupa. Okay, got it? So in every perception, I am seeing the Lord. Pratibodha Vidami, even from the existent point, because what was there before is existence alone was there before. Now existence is existing in the form of this and objects. So in everything, where do I see the Lord? I had to use a viveka to discriminate this is from this visesha. So every existence, Brahman is revealed. Follow? Okay, we will come back to this, because this is what he is going to talk in the next few slokas of samanya, visesha, and how they are together all the time, and how I have to differentiate the one that is real. Real is that which doesn't change, and unreal is the one that is changing. So vastu, nitya, anitya, vastu, viveka I have to use in my perceptual knowledge also. We'll do Purnamadana. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Now stop it until 30